എല്ലാവരെയും അഞ്ചൽ സെൻറ് ജോൺസ് കോളേജ് ബോട്ടണി ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റിൻ്റെ ഓൺലൈൻ ബോട്ടണി എന്ന ഈ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനലിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. എല്ലാവരും സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുക, ലൈക്ക് ചെയ്യുക. ഈ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനലിലൂടെ ബോട്ടണി ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെൻറ്റുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട ക്ലാസ്സുകൾ, ബോട്ടണിയുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട അറിവുകൾ എല്ലാം നമ്മൾ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കും. എല്ലാവരും ഈ യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനൽ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യണം എന്ന് ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഓർമ്മിപ്പിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ആരംഭിക്കട്ടെ. നമ്മുടെ ആദ്യത്തെ വിഷയം, ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ കൈകാര്യം ചെയ്യുന്ന വിഷയം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ആൻജിയോസ്പേം മോർഫോളജിയാണ്. നമുക്കറിയാം, ആൻജിയോസ്പേം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ പുഷ്പിക്കുന്ന സസ്യങ്ങളുടെ ഒരു വിഭാഗമാണ്. സോ ആൻജിയോസ്പേംസ് ആർ എ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഫ്ലവറിംഗ് പ്ലാന്റ്സ്. There are different groups of plants, and based on their advancement and their primitive nature, we divide them into different groups according to the characteristics also. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ we find that there are algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms. ഇതിൽ ഏറ്റവും അഡ്വാൻസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ട് അവസാനം വരുന്ന ഗ്രൂപ്പാണ് ആൻജിയോസ്പേംസ്, ദ ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഓഫ് ഫ്ലവറിംഗ് plants. And today we are dealing with the morphology of angiosperms. മോർഫോളജി നമുക്കറിയാവുന്ന പോലെ നിങ്ങൾ +2 ക്ലാസ്സിലൊക്കെ പഠിച്ചു കാണും. മോർഫോളജി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ സ്റ്റഡി ഓഫ് എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ സ്ട്രക്ചർ. സോ മോർഫോളജി ഈസ് ദ ബ്രാഞ്ച് ഓഫ് ബയോളജി വിച്ച് ഡീൽസ് വിത്ത് ദ സ്റ്റഡി ഓഫ് ദി എക്സ്റ്റേണൽ സ്ട്രക്ചർ ഓഫ് ഓർഗാനിസംസ്. And here we study plant morphology, especially angiosperm morphology, the morphology of flowering plants. അപ്പം ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുന്നത് ഫ്ലവറിംഗ് പ്ലാന്റ്സിൻ്റെ മോർഫോളജി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോഴും we are not going to study about vegetative parts. We discuss about only the flower or reproductive structure of flowering plants. So we know flower is important not only in the sense of reproduction, the function of reproduction or raising the new generation, but also in terms of evolutionary significance and also in terms of classification or systematic importance. So flower characteristics are very important with regard to classification of plants, flowering plants. So here we concentrate on the characteristics of the flower. The vegetative parts we already study and see in earlier classes, especially during the +1 and +2 period. We study about vegetative parts. So in a plant, the vegetative parts are the root, stem and leaf, and the different modifications, adaptations and the peculiarities of these structures we have already seen or studied. Now we come to the morphology of the flower, and when we come to the morphology of the flower, we begin by the arrangement of flowers, and the arrangement of flowers in a plant is called inflorescence. So in flowering plants we find clusters or groups of flowers, and these clusters or groups are arranged in certain special ways, in certain special arrangements or organizations, and this is what we call inflorescence. So we begin our study of angiosperm morphology with the study of inflorescence. Not all flowers need to be arranged in an inflorescence. എല്ലാ പൂക്കളും ഒരു ഇൻഫ്ലോറസൻസിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് തന്നെ ഉണ്ടാവണം എന്ന് നിർബന്ധമില്ല. There are solitary flowers, flowers which are not found in the inflorescence. So certain flowers may occur as single. So they are solitary flowers. But in other cases we see that, in a large number of cases we see that flowers are arranged in groups. They are arranged together in clusters. So this is called inflorescence. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒറ്റയ്ക്ക് പൂക്കൾ ഉണ്ടാവാം, flowers. So they are solitary flowers, or flowers can occur in groups, that is inflorescence. So when flowers occur solitary, there are only 2 positions in a plant where they can be found. Solitary flowers can either be axillary Axillary means on the lateral side of the stem certain buds are formed called the axillary buds, and from within these structures or these sides flowers develop. So they are axillary in position, or they may be terminal at the tip or apex of the plant. So solitary flowers can be axillary or terminal, that is lateral or at the tip or apex. Inflorescence also can be axillary or terminal. As can be seen here, we see that these are examples of terminal position of inflorescence at the top of the stem. Or sometimes, like a solitary flower, the inflorescence can be axillary. There are different structures or arrangements on which the flowers are developed, and the part of the plant from which or on which the flowers are found is called the peduncle. So flowers are developed on a stem or axis or stalk called the peduncle. The main axis on which the flowers are attached is called the peduncle. And each flower may possess a pedicel, which is a small stalk, and if a pedicel is present, the flower is called pedicellate. If it is absent, the flower is sessile. So if it is present, it is pedicellate. So the flower is arising or attached to a main structure, stem, which is called the peduncle, and each flower may possess its own individual stalk, which is called the pedicel. In some cases, the peduncles are developed only for the purpose of flowering, only for the formation of flowers, and no other purpose, as can be seen here in agave or allium, that is in the case of onion. The peduncle forms, and on the peduncle flowers are developed. The flowers get shed off or develop into fruits and then get shed off, and the peduncle then becomes disintegrated or dead. So this is called a scape. So there are peduncles which are developed only for the purpose of bearing flowers, or peduncles may be a part of the stem on which flowers are formed. So we have already seen that flowers may possess a stalk, which is called the pedicel, and such flowers are called pedicellate flowers. Flowers without the stalk are called sessile flowers. Now, from the portion at which the flower arises, we find small leaf-like structures, and this is called the bract. The small leaf-like structures from which the flowers arise is called the bract, and such flowers, that is flowers possessing a bract, are called bracteate. Flowers without a bract are called ebracteate. So this small leaf-like structure can be seen at this portion, and not all flowers possess such a structure. Flowers with such a structure are bracteate. Without this structure, they are ebracteate. In some cases, we see that these leaf-like structures appear on the pedicel. So at the base there will be the bract, and additional leaf-like structures will be found on the pedicel. These additional leaf-like structures are called bracteoles, and if a flower has bracteoles, it is bracteolate. If it is absent, it is ebracteolate. So these are the general parts found external to a flower: a peduncle, pedicel, bract and bracteole. And if the pedicel is present, it is pedicellate. If absent, it is sessile. If the bract is present, it is bracteate. If it is absent, it is ebracteate. If the bracteole is present, it is bracteolate, and if it is absent, it is ebracteolate. Now, bracts need not always be the small leaf-like structure that we find at the base of the flower. It can be modified into different forms. So here we see in pineapple, in the case of bananas, at the terminal portion, there are several leaf-like bracts which are sterile. Within these bracts, flowers were not present. The flowers were below these structures, and they become joined to form the fruit. But here, above the pineapple, we see that these leaf-like bracts, they become enlarged without any flowers, and they are sterile bracts. In the case of grasses, we find specialized bract-like bracts which are called the glumes in the case of grasses. So below the inflorescence, there are glumes. Then in bougainvillea, or in the case of Euphorbia pulcherrima, we find that the bracts are colorful. Here in bougainvillea and also in this case, leaf-like colorful bracts are found in Euphorbia pulcherrima. Then we find leaf-like bracts in these plants like Justitia and Adathoda. ആടലോടകം എന്ന് മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയും. ഔഷധ ഗുണമുള്ള ഒരു ചെടിയാണ്. So here we find leaf-like bracts, and these are another modification or a certain type of adaptation. So because colorful structures in plants are usually to attract insects. Then in some cases the bracts are numerous. We find several bracts and they join together to form an involucre of bracts. So if all the bracts are joined together to form a whorl-like structure, it is called involucre. So here we see there is an involucre of bracts. The bracts all combine together to form an involucre of bracts. Then in some cases, as in the case of coconut, നമ്മൾ കൊതുമ്പെന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഈ ഭാഗം, this is called the spathe, which is actually a modified bract. So here the bract becomes tough and a boat-like structure. This is called spathe. Now in hibiscus and in the family Malvaceae, Malvaceae എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഫാമിലിയിലാണ് വെണ്ട, ചെമ്പരത്തി, പഞ്ഞിച്ചെടി ഇതെല്ലാം വരുന്നത്. So in this family Malvaceae, we find that below the flower there is a whorl of bracts forming the epicalyx. So these are all different modifications of bracts. The presence of sterile bracts, glumes, colorful bracts, leafy bracts, and involucre of bracts, spathe, as well as the epicalyx. Now we come to the different types of inflorescence. Inflorescence are divided into different groups. The main groups are the racemose inflorescence and the cymose inflorescence, as we can see here, racemose and cymose. The other groups are known as special types of inflorescence or mixed inflorescence. They are termed interchangeably as mixed inflorescence and special types of inflorescence. They are neither racemose nor cymose. They can be a combination of racemose and cymose, or a special modification in racemose or cymose. So we can see that inflorescence can be divided into two major groups, racemose and cymose, and all other inflorescence which cannot be racemose or cymose can be special types of inflorescence or mixed inflorescence. So we now see the different types of racemose inflorescence, different types of cymose inflorescence, and the different types of special inflorescence. So first we come to racemose inflorescence. Let us look at racemose inflorescence. In racemose inflorescence, we have already seen the peduncle. We have seen a structure called the peduncle. That is, there will be a main stalk in the plant which we call the peduncle. This peduncle shows unlimited, indefinite or indeterminate growth. That is what happens in racemose inflorescence. So in racemose inflorescence, the peduncle that we see here shows unlimited, indefinite or indeterminate growth. That is, the growth continues. അപ്പോൾ ഇവിടെ പെടങ്കിളിൻ്റെ വളർച്ച ഒരിക്കലും അവസാനിക്കുന്നില്ല, അത് നിരന്തരമായി ഇങ്ങനെ വളർന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. there is a terminal bud at the tip portion here, and from this terminal bud growth continues, and here flowers are born in acropetal succession. Acropetal succession means that the older flowers, അതായത് ആദ്യം ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന പൂക്കൾ, they are formed at the base, because the peduncle would have been about this height at first, and these flowers were developed earlier, so they are now the older flowers, and as the peduncle grows, new flowers keep on developing on the peduncle. പുതിയ പൂക്കൾ ഇങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. So in the end what we find is that younger flowers are at the top and older flowers are at the bottom. So this is what is called Racemosa inflorescence in the case of elongated peduncle. Now in certain cases the peduncle gets suppressed and it becomes flat, which we call a receptacle. ചില ഘട്ടങ്ങളിൽ അങ്ങനെ സംഭവിക്കും. So in this case what happens is that we find the older flowers at the periphery. അതിൻ്റെ അരികുകളിലായിട്ടായിരിക്കും ആദ്യം ഉണ്ടായ പൂക്കൾ. So these older flowers were first at the center, and as more flowers developed they got pushed to the periphery. So here we find younger flowers at the center. Younger flowers are formed at the center and older flowers are at the periphery, because the flowers get pushed to the periphery as they are formed, and this is called centripetal succession. ഇതിനെ വിളിക്കുന്നതാണ് centripetal succession. So when the peduncle is elongated, younger flowers are at the top and older flowers are at the bottom, which is acropetal succession, and when the peduncle is suppressed flat in the form of a receptacle, we find that the older flowers are at the periphery and younger flowers are at the center. So these are the general characteristics of the Racemosa inflorescence. The peduncle has indefinite or indeterminate growth, and flowers are either in acropetal succession or in centripetal succession. Now let us move to the different types of Racemosa inflorescence. The first type is a simple raceme. In a simple raceme, as in all Racemosa inflorescence, the peduncle shows continuous growth. It continues to grow, and it bears pedicellate flowers in acropetal succession. That is, older flowers are at the bottom and younger flowers are at the top. So we can see here the peduncle shows continuous growth, younger flowers are at the top, older flowers are at the bottom, and this is called simple raceme. അപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഒരു ഇൻഫ്ലോറസൻസിൻ്റെ അകത്ത് പെഡങ്കിൾ, ഈ നടുവിൽ വരുന്ന ആ തണ്ടിൻ്റെ മുകൾ ഭാഗം ചെറിയ പൂക്കൾ അല്ലെ പൂമുട്ടുകൾ കാണും. താഴെ വരുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും വിടർന്ന പൂക്കൾ, അതിൻ്റെയും താഴെ ചിലപ്പം ഫ്രൂട്ട്സ് ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ക്രോട്ടലേറിയ, നമ്മൾ കിലികിലിക്കി എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്ന ചെടി. So here we can see it is the flowers are in acropetal succession with young flowers here at the top. There are flower buds, young flowers, and the older flowers, mature flowers, are towards the bottom. Again, in the case of Gliricidia, Shimakonna, അവിടെയും നമുക്ക് ഈ കേസ് കാണാം. It is simple raceme. Now the next type is actually a compound raceme. It is a branched raceme. നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ കണ്ട സിമ്പിൾ റസീം തന്നെയാണ്, അതിന് ബ്രാഞ്ചിങ് ഉണ്ടായ ഒരു കേസാണ് രണ്ടാമത്തേത്. ദിസ് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് പാനിക്കിൾ. So in a panicle, the peduncle shows unlimited growth. It continues to grow. But here you can see that several secondary peduncles are formed. അപ്പം there is a primary peduncle. അപ്പോൾ നേരത്തെ നമ്മൾ കണ്ട കേസിൽ there is this primary peduncle and flowers are formed directly on this. But here secondary peduncles are formed on a main peduncle. And in some cases even tertiary peduncles are formed. അതായത് ഈ രണ്ടാമതുണ്ടായ പെഡങ്കിളുടെ മുകളിൽ വീണ്ടും പെഡങ്കിൾ ഉണ്ടായെന്ന് വരും. These are tertiary peduncles. and everything is formed in acropital succession. ഇപ്പോൾ പൂക്കളുണ്ടായാലും സെക്കൻഡറി പടങ്ങളുണ്ടായാലും ടെർഷറി പടങ്ങളുണ്ടായാലും all these are formed in acropital succession, and this is called a panicle. For example, in mango, mangifera, this is an example. We can see this is the main peduncle, secondary peduncles are formed. Then in tectona, teak, avadeyum we can find a compound raceme or a panicle. So this much for today's session. We'll deal with the remaining different types of Racemosa inflorescence in the next sessions. Thank you everyone for joining in this me in this video, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much.